from Warren, Ohio. Joe, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Fine. Thanks for calling in. What do you have for us?
Well, what I'd like to discuss is you were wondering who we think will win the 2012 presidential race, and that's what's on my mind.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm obviously not a prophet and able to declare who's going to win the race, but I can tell you this. I am a Delphi salaried retiree.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of our issue or not.
No, I haven't, but go ahead.
What has happened to us in the automotive, in the General Motors Delphi automotive bailout, was that in the bailout, which was of course a government-run bailout and subsidized with taxpayer dollars, GM chose to top up the pensions of over 500,000 hourly retirees, yet left out the 22,000 salaried retirees of Delphi, which I am a member. Those 500,000 hourly retirees receive 100% of their pension, while we have received 30 to 70% cuts in our pension. Now, GM originally chose to do that in bankruptcy court, but what complicates this matter further is that, as most people know, the bankruptcy was run by the Auto Task Force, which was appointed by President Obama, and President Obama approved the use of $26 billion to GM of TARP funds to get them out of bankruptcy, and approve. And if he didn't directly, if he wasn't directly involved in the decision, he approved of the use of $26 billion to discriminate against such a small group of employees. The union contracts were void in bankruptcy court. GM chose to honor their obligations to the hourly retirees, and President Obama funded GM's choice to do that. At the same time, us 22,000 retirees have been left out. As you said, I'm from Warren, Ohio. And as everyone knows, Ohio is a key swing state.
Yes, it is.
In this presidential election, and we are and will work even harder to defeat President Barack Obama in the 2012 election in Ohio, which will basically defeat him in the entire election. We don't have to win a whole lot of states, but if we win Ohio, President Obama will lose. Now, we've been involved in a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation, the PBGC for short, saying that our pension should never have been terminated, first of all, because the PBGC had liens against Delphi's foreign assets well enough to fully fund our pension. But even that aside, our pension is funded at a level that it should have never been terminated. But in the expediency of getting General Motors out of bankruptcy, President Obama's Auto Task Force chose to say that we were not commercially valuable, and they just cast us aside.
Okay, well, let me make a couple of comments on what you just said, Joe.
Yep.
First of all, unfortunately, the situation you just described happens way too often. When we bailed out Wall Street back in the fall of 2008, the big financial firms ended up taking a lot of that money and giving it as golden parachutes or pension bumps to the top to their top executives, who created the problem in the first place.
And I can't disagree with you.
And it seems to me the situation described happens way too often, where people like you get the short end of the stick, and the top executives at these failed companies or failing companies make out greatly. And unfortunately, I hear about this too much. Now, go ahead, Joe.
Even though I was a salaried engineer for Delphi, obviously part of management, I fully agree with your comments. What has happened wrong here, though, is that normally in a bankruptcy, all parties are asked to share the sacrifice in a normal bankruptcy. To use Barack Obama's words, by the way, in this case, union retirees were specifically granted favorable treatment over us, and it was done using an extremely high dollar of taxpayer money. Now there are always winners and losers in bankruptcies, but in a normal bankruptcy, everyone is supposed to share that sacrifice.
Well, let me make a couple of comments, Joe, because we're running up to the break here.
Sure.
First of all, you're right about something else, which is that the two battleground states, which will decide the outcome of the election, is first Florida. And then Ohio, because Florida has the most electoral votes of any battleground state, and Ohio is number 2. Let me ask you this question. Mm-hmm. Mitt Romney would have opposed the bailout altogether.
No.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Well, go ahead if you want.
Well, I'm saying, he said very specifically that he wouldn't have bailed out the auto industries. Yeah. He basically told them to drop dead.
And I disagree with that statement in that that's the way the media wants to interpret that statement. What is really meant, what would in reality have happened would have been General Motors and Delphi would have gone through a normal bankruptcy process. They would have been protected against their debtors in bankruptcy court with U.S. bankruptcy laws. Their creditors, which of course we are one of the unsecured creditors, just as the UAW was an unsecured creditor, but all their creditors, whether they were secured or unsecured creditors, would have been treated equally in a normal bankruptcy procedure. And that is one of the additional points that was done wrong by this bankruptcy. And mind you, I'm not here to promote Mitt Romney versus Barack Obama.
Joe, I'm going to have to cut you off because we're at the end of the half hour and we're going to break. But thanks for calling in, and please